Lisa, and I'm a massage therapist with over 10 years of experience. So I'm doing these videos to help you with self-care tips while you're at home, working, and spending so much time at your computer. You might be experiencing more aches and pains and not really having an opportunity to go to a massage therapist. So I wanted to share with you some very simple and effective tools that you can learn so that you can help create more balance and more happiness in your joints and bones. So before we get started, I do want to say that for any of these videos, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not able to diagnose nor specifically treat any conditions. I'm just giving you suggestions on what I think that would be best for you. This is also to help you learn how to connect and understand your own body. With that being said, there are certain contraindications for any type of massage and body work. A contraindication means that this is not suited for people that have the following conditions. If you are on specific blood thinner medications, if you suffer from strokes, or if you have broken bones, torn muscles, any clotting disorders, or a rash. Please do not do any massage or body work on yourself or on others until those things have been resolved. So today's self-care tip is focusing on carpal tunnel, which affects the forearm, the muscles of the forearm, and the tendons of the wrist. So it's a type of tendonitis. Itis always means inflammation of the tendons. And I'll be referring to different types of books, but as you can see from this diagram here, there's like a sheath of tendons right here in your wrist, which is often why your wrist might feel strained or stiff. But we also know that our hands do so many different things, and especially because our hands are responsible for a lot of fine motor activities, we need all of those muscles, all of those many bones to be able to do the amazing things that we do with our hands. But with that comes the pain and suffering that can happen with carpal tunnel. So today I'll be working with you on how to relieve the pain that you may be feeling from carpal tunnel. Before we get started with the actual exercises, it is really good to do a breathing technique. So even when I'm working with patients and massaging, I always check in with their body first to make sure that we're in sync with our breathing. You want your breathing to be coming into a parasympathetic state, which is when you're not actually forcing the breath, it's all coming in an even measure with your heart and with all of your other body systems. So to prepare, you're going to place your right hand over your chest towards your heart. Doesn't have to be exactly. Your left arm on your belly and your left hand. I like to sit on the floor. You can do this sitting in a chair. You can also do this laying down or standing up, whichever feels the best for you. This is how I like to. So as you breathe, you're going to begin the inhale with your belly. So contrary to what it might feel like, as you inhale, you're filling up with breath, not pulling in. And then as you exhale, that's when you're releasing the breath. For me, it always goes out because I have a belly. So the inhale begins in the belly up to the chest, and then the exhale begins in the chest and then ends in the belly. Don't focus on straining the breath at all. You just want to start really connecting with your breath. I would pause the video here so you could continue to do 7 more rounds of this until you really feel relaxed. But even after 3, I start to feel my heart rate slowing down and everything starting to relax. So as you can see from doing this breath work, your heart rate should feel a bit slower. Your whole body should feel relaxed. You should feel clear in your mind. The reason we focus on breath work is because the breath fuels the rest of the body. So our blood carries oxygen to our muscles, to our organs, throughout our body, so that it circulates and keeps our muscles healthy. When our breath is expanded and when we're breathing in a really parasympathetic way, it carries really clean and well circulated oxygen throughout our body so that our muscles are ready to receive the work that we're about to do. So the breath work helps us to make sure that our muscles are in the most optimal state they can be in before we begin the work that we're going to do. And I would like to say that you should also be hydrated before you do any type of massage work, because your body also needs water to perform well. For our first exercise, you're going to get onto your hands and knees. You want to make sure that your shoulders are directly over your wrists and that your wrists are directly under your shoulders. What I'm doing here is I'm stretching the tendons in the wrist. So you want to start off one at a time, bringing the wrist up to your shoulder and back down again. Same on the other side. If this feels too painful, do not put too much pressure on the tendon itself. So you can adjust the pressure by how far you lean back into your hips. One other thing to consider is you do not want your palm of your hand to lift up as you're stretching. You want to make sure the palm of your hand stays on the ground as you're moving back. And make sure to breathe as you're doing these movements so that you can get the most out of your stretch. I also like to keep my fingers separated so that I'm also stretching the muscles in between the fingers and the tendons. So you want to do the top of the wrist as well as the bottom of the wrist. If you're unable to be on your hands and knees, you can always do the same exercise as standing up. I'll always offer modifications so that you know exactly what is right for your body. So you do the same things. You can hold your wrist with your left hand and then just slowly rotate your wrist in a circle. Remember, you're not pushing or straining your bones or your tendons. You're just doing it slowly and rhythmically. Then you would place your arm out, shoulder to wrist should be on a slight incline, not completely down, but kind of straight out. And then you're just placing your arm down. You do the same thing on the other side. Now I am double jointed, so your thumb might not touch your wrist, but then you would also do it so that your thumb goes as close to your wrist as possible. If you're not double jointed, it might not reach, so do not worry if your thumb does not reach your thread. And then on the other side. It's very normal for one side to feel tighter because you usually have a dominant hand, so don't feel surprised if one arm feels different than the other arm. So I'm going to show you 2 acupressure points that you can use to help relieve pressure in the wrist. These are very potent points, so you're not going to want to press here if you are pregnant. Other than that, you should be okay to press. So the first point, as you can see, there's an L between the index finger and the thumb. The first point is kind of the meaty area in the V shape between the thumb and the finger. And here too, it's like a V. You're just going to press until you feel a bit of pain or discomfort, but not so much that you can't talk. It should be, I would say, potent, as the word indicates. You would hold it for as long as feels good, but no less than 10 breaths. You can also flip over and do the point on the opposite side. I like to go to where I find the belly of the thumb muscle here. If you push in, connects to your thumb, find a good spot. So this acupressure is more intuitive. So you're looking for a spot that vibrates when you push into it. That's the way in Eastern therapies you would say that the point is not dull. If it's vibrating, that means there's energy behind it. So you want to feel around, and if you feel some sort of vibration, this might take time to be able to tell. It's very subtle, but once you start to feel those things, you'll be able to know like where on your hand the most potent points are. But that's what I'm looking for here. Where do I feel a slight vibration underneath my thumb? And then I'm pressing into it. For this last tip, I'm going to show you a massage stroke. With massage, we're going to go through the parts of the muscle that I want you to massage, and then how to correctly massage the muscle so that you're releasing the tension from the arm, and also being able to relieve stress and tension from the carpal tunnel. We're going to be focusing on the forearm up into the wrist, and not as much with the fingers, but just these areas. So with each muscle, there are insertion and end points. The insertion point is where the muscle connects to a bone, which is also the ligament. So first you're gonna find, so there's my elbow. If I come across here, I also have the ulna, which connects to the pinky, and the radius, which connects to the thumb. So I'm looking for a nice muscle that's in between the ulna and the radius. And it's pretty close to my elbow. This is where you might start to feel some pain if you've had carpal tunnel issues, because it doesn't just affect the wrist, but it also affects all the way up into the forearm. You don't really need to do much with the insertion point because the muscle there is very narrow. So I just like to use my thumb to kind of stroke side to side or hold down just to warm up the muscle. Bring my body's attention to this specific area so that it's being told to be filled with blood and oxygen. But I actually, while I'm doing this, I can feel a sensation in my thumb area where we did the acupressure. So these are directly connected. And there's also a lot of nerves that communicate with each other. Now I'm gonna go down through this area. As you get into this area, it's a bigger muscle, and you can see I'm kind of, well, you see how big my muscles are, sure. But you can see this muscle here, the forearm. Where it gets big, that's called the belly of the muscle, just like a belly. It's the biggest part of the muscle, and the reason it's big is because we use this muscle to do things like lifting, things that we need more strength to do. So for this part, you can still just do, I like to use my thumb a lot because the thumb can go deeper than other parts of your body. If you're using like an elbow, it's too big for this area, and it's stronger than a finger. But I like to just go back and forth, going between this bone and this bone, the ulna and the radius. And then I work down the muscle. So I go from insertion, and we're gonna go all the way to the end point. Working down in a circular thumb motion. Staying in between those two muscles. Correction, staying in between those two bones. So as you get closer to the wrist, this is where you're gonna feel, this is where the carpal tunnel region is. This is the area that you can take your left hand and you can cuff your right, but in the back, you're gonna leave your thumb in this area here, which is still in between the radius and the ulna. So I cuff it, and then I start to rotate. It feels so good. I love the way it feels. So I'm rotating. You can hear lots of cracks. This really helps to open up the carpal tunnel. Then I'm gonna take my thumb in between my wrist bone and the bone that sits right directly under the thumb, and I'm gonna massage in here lightly. There's not a lot of padding here, so what you're running into here is mostly ligaments, tendons, and nerves. So you don't want to go too hard because nerves are very sensitive and closer to the surface. They are what communicates with our body to tell us when we're in pain. So they are, you don't want to go too deep. But I'm just stroking lightly here. And then I might cuff again and do some rotations in and out. Finally, you're just gonna go back up the muscle. I usually prefer going in a downward motion, but you can go back up just to get a feel for where that muscle sits and what condition it's in. Then you can glide down. There are several different strokes you can do. I'm just showing you very, very simple ones. As you get better at understanding your own body, you're going to get better at interpreting all the different sensations you feel. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos on self-care tips during this time. I just want to review the 4 things that we went over today. Number 1, checking in with your body is really important before you begin any type of massage or body work. Number 2, we did some stretching. Number 3, we did some acupressure on specific points. And number 4, I taught you a very simple and effective massage technique to help with carpal tunnel. If you're geeky like me and love to read books about the things that you've just learned, I'm going to share with you the books that I used today for resources. This book is very great because it's a pocket anatomy and physiology book. I love anatomy and I love talking about it, as you can see. So this book is great because it's also flashcards, so it's very easy to find the specific muscle or nerve or whatever you're looking for. Very handy, and you can fit it in your pocket. I'll be continuing to reference this book in other videos because I just love talking about anatomy, and I think it's really interesting and also makes you better informed when you're actually working with your body. It makes me more in tune with my body, knowing exactly what areas of my body, the massage that I'm doing, that I'm applying, what areas it's actually working with. I also referenced this book. It's a classic. It is from probably the 1970s or so. But if you're interested in learning more about acupressure, this is one of the books that I'll be using. This is something that you can do at home, you can do on yourself, and also that you can share with others. And I will be showing you more of this as we go forward as well. So happy wrists, everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.